There's no doubt about it, I am ready to get hurt again. Hi bestie, how are you today? I hope you're having a fantastic day. Today I'm going to be diving into House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas. Hopefully I'll find out why everybody likes Rune so much, because I did not get that from book one. But this is going to be a completely spoiler-filled reading vlog. So these are going to be my thoughts and theories as I read this book, and let's just jump right in. So let's talk about this prologue for a second. We meet Sophie, who is a Thunderbird, and she has this intel that like she didn't tell anybody else, and then she's thrown in the water. So I'm like, I really hope she told somebody about whatever information it is that she had. But I feel like the point of the chapter was to like kind of explain Hunt's powers and how Hunt is able to wield this lightning. So he is a Thunderbird. Am I right? Also in the prologue, so Sophie is a human that made the drop. So that's telling us that humans are capable of doing it, which I think is going to be an important plot point later. Then chapter 1, Bryce and Hunt at the ballet together. When Hunt had to use his hand because it was bigger to cover the star on her chest. And then the fact that they're waiting until winter solstice, I'm like, who are you guys kidding? Like, why are you doing this to yourselves? I feel like there has to be some reason for the star to light up, and it isn't just out of nowhere. I think it's provoked by something. What that something is, I don't know. But I'm excited to find out. Like, I'm ready to get back into this world and see what happens. And I picked up on this, and I don't know if I'm just absolutely crazy, but Hunt is describing Fury, and he's saying, like, she looks human. Everything about her is human, and I can't tell what house she belongs to. I can't tell what type of being she is. And so I'm sitting here thinking, is Fury a human that made the drop? Am I wrong? I feel like that would make sense though. The opening to chapter 3 was just absolutely wild. It's like Rune knew 3 things. The first one was that he smoked so much that he couldn't feel his face. And it was like, which was a shame because there was a female taking a seat. I said, oh, that's what we're doing. Okay. Now I'm in that headspace. Can we just talk about how Cormac shows up and is like, surprise, I'm your cousin and also you're my bride. Like, sir, who invited you? Who invited you? And then Hunt and Bryce are like, let's go home and watch trashy TV. So cute. And then just find Ethan like bleeding out in the apartment. Like, where'd he come from? I really wish there was some kind of world map, because I get that we get the map of the city, like of Crescent City, but we don't get the map of the entire world. And I feel like we're just expected to know where everything is. And I'm just so confused when they say like the different places, and I'm just like, okay, I believe you. I believe that's where they are. I don't know. I just wish there was like that visual. So I was very surprised that Therion was looking for Sophie in the ocean, the lake. I don't know where they were, but whatever body of water, Therion was looking there like with the little, this is supposed to be the underwater camera. So looking with the underwater camera, and he notices that the chain is there, but the shackles were like opened. So she's got to be alive somewhere. But I'm so surprised that she's being brought back into the story so soon. I thought it was going to be like way later in the book that we're going to talk about her. So Sabine kicked Ethan out, which she's just a bitch. Like, I'm not surprised by any of her behavior. So Hunt is showing more of his possessive side. He is just bothered by the fact that Bryce and Ethan are sharing a bed. Okay, and then this conversation between Ethan and Bryce about how Connor thought that she was his mate. I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready for that just stab to the heart. Each type has a different definition for a mate. So what does it mean if like a fae and a wolf are mates? Did it just mean different things to each of the people? I don't know. And also Hypaxia can raise the dead, and the Hind is her half-sister. Don't know where that's gonna go, but it just seemed random. Cormac was talking about how Starborns used to intermarry, and like brother and sister would marry each other, and like aunt and nephew, that kind of thing. Please don't tell me that Rune is actually the love interest. No. Like, no. I also can't stop thinking about what the Oracle told Rune, being like, the royal bloodline ends with you. Like, how does that work? What's going on? Jessica, first of all, knowing about the engagement before anybody else, but then second of all, like, pushing Bryce and being like, you should really consider it before you just say no. What does she have to gain from that? So I find it quite interesting that the star on her chest glows every time that Cormac is around, and he says it's because they're like predestined to be together. But it was glowing in the ballet when it was just her and Hunt has technically been there every time it's happened. It was at the ballet. It was when Cormac showed up, Hunt was standing next to her, and then he was on the phone with her when Cormac showed up at her job. So in my head, it's because like her and Hunt are mates, but maybe that's just because that's what I want to happen. I don't want it to be linked to Cormac because he just seems like meh, and he's not Hunt. This may be my trust issue showing, but Celestina is too nice. I don't care. There's something wrong. You can't tell me that she's just a nice character. Like there's something there. And then for her to be like, oh my gosh, it must have been just like a miscommunication. This never happens, but the Hammer and the Hellhound will be working with you now. Say hi to your coworkers. No, she's not to be trusted. When it switches to Ethan, which I did not know we were going to be doing a lot of POV jumping here, but when it switches over to Ethan and he's talking about how being a lone wolf is like a soul wound and how he was soul wounded when his brother died 2 years ago, I get a feeling, I feel like a character has to die in this book. It might be Ethan from some kind of soul wound. That's just a complete guess. I hope that's not true because I'm really liking Ethan, but we'll see. And then Therion finding out that Danica and Sophie were emailing before Danica died just adds another layer to the story. I'm excited. I don't know where this is going, but I'm just here for the vibes. So now we have this one bed sleeping arrangement with Hunt and Bryce, which I was like so excited for, and it literally went nowhere. It went nowhere. And then when they're in the elevator together and she's telling him that Cormac came to, is it Cormac or Cormac? We're gonna go with Cormac, M-A-C, that Cormac came to her job and he just goes, did he touch you? Why is this doing it for me? Like, why is this it? So Fury just drops the bomb that like, oh yeah, Danica was a bloodhound and could scent bloodlines and the secrets in them, which is just so crazy. And I don't understand why we're learning all these things about Danica. I just feel like she should have stuck around for a little longer. Obviously, it wasn't Danica's choice, but I feel like Danica's character should have lasted a longer time for like, I don't know, for us to just get a better idea of her character before we're just like finding things out through the grapevine. I just don't really like that. Bryce really doesn't want to listen to anybody, and it's kind of stressing me out. Hunt, Fury, Rune, they're all like, hey, maybe let's not look for Emil because you're gonna get in trouble, like you're gonna get us all killed. And she's like, but why not? I don't know. I get her reasoning behind it, but also everybody's telling you like, hey, you shouldn't do this. And you're like, but what if I did? Ethan being like, oh my gosh, your cat is so sweet. Dude, you've been staying here for like 3 nights. You didn't notice she didn't have a cat till today? Like, that, it's not suspicious that a cat just shows up. And then I was like, okay, wait. Cormac is actually Agent Silverbrow, which means that Cormac was with Sophie. Does he know that Sophie's alive? Like, oh my gosh, this is just like, this is about to get so good. So when Adis was like, you really needed to like be careful of who you're talking around because he was one of the cats in the alley next to the tea place that she was talking to Fury at. I knew when she was like, oh yeah, there's just like animals in the alley. Suspicious behavior. I literally can't read because his name is Agent Silverbow, not Silverbrow. Okay. So Cormac's saying that he only came and like agreed to marry Bryce because he needed access to Rune for this whole like mind speak thing. I don't really trust this man. Is that just my bad? Bryce finally admitting that she did not want to wait till solstice. I was like, girl, we all knew that. I'm glad you finally got there though. Of course, there's a secret compartment in the living room table thing. Like, Okay, what else? Like, what else are we gonna find out? But I'm living for this scene where Ethan is using the sword and like pretending to fight people. It was just so good. And how do we feel about Cormac getting Rune to agree to mind speak to this agent? It's just like, something bad's gonna happen. Like, shit is gonna hit the fan. Pollux, if that's what his name is, slash the Hammer, is a piece of shit. Like, a piece of literal garbage. And I feel like Baxian's gonna be making this like turnaround. Like, I feel like he's just gonna be a good guy now, and I just want him to be because he's so cute. But the way that Baxian followed Pollux into the alley and was like, she said no, I'm in love with him, I love him, but I need to know the history between like what happened with the two of them. I just need to know. This may be my trust issues showing again, but when Celestina is like, oh, I was trying to, you know, save funds to buy you, but the Asteri wouldn't let me do it, I don't know how to feel about it. I don't know if she's telling the truth. She could just say that. Nobody's gonna fact check her. But the fact that Hunt was like, no, I'm glad all of these nightmares and these terrible things happened to me because they led me to Bryce. And I'm just like, that's so cute. Can we rewind for like just a second to the papers that Danica was writing? The fact that she was like, the Asteri have literally never shown that they're that powerful. They just said that they were and we believed them. That's definitely going to be a major plot point. That is going to be a major plot point. I'm so excited for that. And then we cut to Rune and Bryce trying to walk to go to their training, and the Reapers just show up and are like, bam, taking Rune with us. I was like, where's this going? So then it's in Rune's head, and it's like him talking to Agent Daybright, which he's like, I feel like I know your voice. Like, I know this scent. Like, I know you. Who is Agent Daybright? I need to know. And then the Prince of the Pit like wants Bryce to practice with her powers and like be powerful so they can fight each other. I don't get it. And then while all of this is happening, Cormac shows up out of literally nowhere. I don't know how to feel about him, but he shows up out of nowhere and he starts like using his powers to teleport the Reapers somewhere else. And then Bryce uses the Star Sword and she's actually able to kill what they thought was unkillable before. I don't know. I just don't know what's going on, but I'm excited. I'm looking forward to what's going to happen next. It seems like Therion has had enough of the River Queen's bullshit, and I'm kind of excited to see where his character goes. So Cormac is explaining how he can teleport. Basically, he can winnow. Is it just me? I feel like the way he's describing how he teleports is just the exact same way that Rhys describes how he winnows. Now Jessica is suggesting that Danica wasn't coming to the gallery just to visit Bryce. And then when she's speaking mind to mind with Rune, Bryce is like, I'm sick of this whole surprise. Danica had this big secret thing and I'm right there with her. I'm so sick of this. Like, no one knew Danica. Like, I just don't understand. It's like every couple chapters, it's like, and here's another secret she had, and guess what? Wait, there's more. Like, come on. I don't know how to feel about this. Okay, so Ethan, I'm like slowly falling in love with him. Every time we talk to him, I'm just like, oh, my heart, right? Right. So when Bryce walks to her room, and Hunt is like, okay, do I follow Bryce or do I keep watching the Sunball game? Which is like, is this really what we're doing? But like, it takes him a little bit and then he's like, oh, I'm gonna go follow Bryce. And then Ethan says Connor would have picked the game over Bryce. And then Rune's like, well, what would you have done? And no hesitation, he's like, I would have picked Bryce. So we're getting that Ethan likes Bryce, but Bryce is with Hunt. So what's going on? I'm so excited. Why is this gym scene so hot? And then she's like, I love you. Like, it kind of slipped out. And then he used the lightning. I'm loving it. I don't know how to feel about them calling each other mates when like we don't know if that's true or not. And now it's making me worried that they're not actually mates. But I feel like they are. More on that later. This whole visit to the Underking has me so confused. Like, this whole second light aspect, it just feels like it's out of nowhere. Maybe it's just me. Feels like it's out of nowhere. And then Bryce is like, well, why are you telling us this? And Hunt's like, he's not gonna let us leave. Stress. Stress, stress, stress. Then, cut to Rune's point of view. Mordok is Danica's dad? I feel like these books are just meant to talk about Danica without just telling you directly about it. Like, you have to earn the information about her. I don't know how I feel about that. I just feel kind of meh. Side note, Rune describes the Hind as the most beautiful female he's ever seen. I've learned my lesson. I think I can pick up on that. Is this a completely wild theory? Because the Hind technically killed Sophie. So she can't also be, like, she can't be Agent Daybright if she's the one that killed Sophie, right? She opened her mouth to roar, but someone else did it for her. That was so good. And then Bryce just like jumping in front of this like massive like energy that Hunt is putting together, and her just like jumping in front of it just on a whim, hoping that it works. Stress. She's stressing me out. And then the Hind accusing Ethan of lusting after the female his brother loved. And then she's putting together this whole story of like the reason that he tried so hard in Sunball was because he wanted Bryce to notice him. He wished he met Bryce first. Like, what is gonna happen here? And then this whole like thing where Hunt is being called away. He's talking to Bryce and they're like, oh, rain check, cool. And like, I feel like it's just never gonna happen. Is it just me? I feel like it's literally never gonna happen. And I don't know how I feel about them calling each other mates when it's just like they decided instead of boyfriend, girlfriend, they're gonna call each other mates. I don't know. Oh, and this scent that Rune is picking up on Bryce, but I don't think it's Hunt's scent on Bryce because he would have like, that would have been from before. But I want to know what it is now. Like, what's this new scent that he's like questioning? Because then Ethan is like, oh no, that's just the river. And Rune's like, I don't think so. What is it? What is it? This thought literally just occurred to me. But is Rune scenting the mating bond between Bryce and Hunt? Is that what he's smelling? Or am I crazy? I feel so bad for Ethan because like him saying like he thought Bryce was his mate. He met her and talked to her for 10 minutes and was like, I'm gonna marry her, like planning their future together. And then to find out that his brother was in love with her. So he was like, oh no, like I'm gonna let my brother have her. What does Bryce have? What does Bryce have that all these men are like falling in love with her? What's going on? Making Hunt stay in the barracks for 2 weeks was wild. And I feel like, I think his name's Ephraim? Him. I think he's gonna be the problem. Although Celestina just letting herself be used as a puppet, she's a problem too. But on another note, this trip to go see the Mystic when it's Ethan, Bryce, and Therion, when they go, it's giving very much like when Daenerys Targaryen goes to like look for her dragons in, I don't remember what the house was called, but I'm gonna put a picture of the guy that I'm thinking of. This is the vibe that I got right here. That's all I could think of. Hunt playing video games with Baxian, like, I feel like Baxian's gonna be like his buddy, and that's so cute. Therion stays flirting with Bryce. It's like he's constantly talking about her underwear for literally whatever reason. And then he's like flirting with her through this like otter messenger thing while Hunt is stuck in the barracks. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about all this. Why was Danica so sneaky? Like, really? Like, okay, so going back to the tapes of her in the gallery, waiting for Bryce and Lehaba to go upstairs, and then she waits a few seconds, goes and finds the book and is like flipping through it, and then takes the pictures, puts it back, and it then pretends to be half asleep when they come back. What was, okay, honestly, Danica is the main character of this series. Everybody else is just like playing along in whatever it was that Danica had planned. This is just, my blanket wrapped around me, but I don't feel like taking it off for the sake of the video, so you're just getting the cozy vibes. I get Juniper's reaction to Bryce calling the head of the ballet and having Juniper made principal. However, Bryce does these nice things for Juniper. She did it in the first book when she threw herself over her, and then Juniper got up and like slapped her. And then now when she's like, she called to make her principal, which is something that she wanted, and I get it, like she wanted to earn it, but I don't think she would have ever gotten there without a little bit of help from Bryce. And I just feel like Juniper's character is just strange. Like, girl, just say thank you. The prime offering to make Ethan an alpha of his own pack. Why am I getting so emotional over this? Like, why is this just like speaking to me right now? Is it just me, or is Rune down bad for Agent Daybright? Like, he is flirting with her so hard and cares about her so much. It's giving mate. It's giving whoever that person is that's his mate, like day and night. Hello. Watch it be like somebody so random, but that's my thought process. Also, is this supposed to be Hunt? Is it supposed to be Hunt? I don't know. And then the snake, is it the Viper Queen? I have questions. I liked that when they were in the Bone Quarter, Hunt told Bryce to light it up, and then again here when they were on the island in front of like the new mech suits, that Bryce said to Hunt, light it up. And so it's coming back because it was her thing with Danica, so now it's coming back. I'm excited. So Baxian like showing up and warning them that the Hind was coming, I feel like he's on their side now. Like, I don't feel like he's a bad guy. Am I wrong? I want him to be a good guy so bad. So now they're on this city ship thing, and Rune is speaking into Bryce's mind and is like, Hunt can't calm down because you guys are mated. Like, that's the scent that changed, and I knew it, I called it. But he's like, basically he's your problem now, so fix it. We need to talk about Bryce and Hunt in this like biodome thing. Finally, the moment I've been waiting for. And it delivered. It definitely delivered. But you can't tell me they just teleported after that. Like, now all of a sudden she's got the teleportation powers. I'm kind of here for it though. Like, I'm kind of here for it. I'm kind of loving it. I just think it's so crazy. Like, they finally get together, and then like their powers were like commingling. When Flynn was like, oh, well then I guess it's a good thing that a dragon owes me a debt, all I could think of was when Donkey's like, oh, you're a girl dragon. It was giving that. I was so sad to find out that Sophie drowned. Like, I was so hopeful. And the way that the person came in and was like, oh yeah, we heard about her and we were actually sent to go get her a couple weeks ago. And I was like, oh my God, great. Like, she's gonna be somewhere in this city ship thing. And she's like, yeah, she drowned. Damn. But I do think that whatever she carved into her arm is going to be super important, and that's going to tell them either where Emil is or whatever information that she gathered that was like, you know, gonna help out the cause. You get me? So Baxian has admitted that he is a Rumble sympathizer and like just walked out. He was just like, oh, same, and just left. What do I do with that information? Then we find out that Bryce has been a little secretive and that Emil has been with the Viper Queen this whole time. And he has no powers? Are you joking? I get it. I get Sophie like making up that he has powers because otherwise he's not valuable to anybody else. But it was all for nothing. It meant nothing. And now I predicted this, but I knew that Bryce's parents were going to be the ones to adopt him. I thought that was so cute. The fact that Bryce was using these postcards to let her mom and her stepdad know, like, hey, there's this human I'm going to be sending to you. He is now your son. I love that. It was genius. Rune calling himself the Prince of Nothing, like, really broke my heart. Like, he just thinks, like, so little of himself. And it just is like, someone hug him. And then the Autumn King changing Bryce's name to Bryce Dannon? Oh my gosh, I'm not like super shocked because like she's using the name. She used the name to pull a couple strings. So now it's like, you gotta pay the piper. This demon attacking Ethan. Okay, So the whole time I was like, he's not dead, he's not dead, he's not dead. Because it just felt so anticlimactic. It was like this character who's been so important, I guess not so important, but a pretty main part of what's been happening, just like throat ripped out, done. Didn't feel right. So the whole time I'm like, he's not dead, he's not dead, he's not dead. So I hadn't accepted it. So when he wasn't dead, I was like, great, I'm happy. However, I think that this is one of those things where it's like, oh, you thought he was gonna die and like your heart was in your throat, and then it was like, oh, just kidding, so now you feel better. But then later on he actually does die. I hope to be wrong, but that's the feeling that I'm getting. And I really like his character. I really like want him to find out what's going on with Connor. I want him to unpack all this stuff that's going on with Bryce. I just love him. The fact that the first thing he thinks about when he wakes up from like after being attacked is Bryce okay? Is Hypaxia okay? Not worried about himself. Like, he's just a little sweetie. In Hypaxia's office or room or whatever, she has a mirror that is used for scrying. Sound familiar? Anybody? Anybody? I really, really, really love the friendship between Therion and Hypaxia, and finally finding out that the tally they were keeping was the amount of times that Rune was like gawking at Hypaxia. I love it. It's just like such a sweet little part of the story. I don't know why it makes me so happy, but Therion like showing up to Rune's house and being like, do you have room for another roommate? I'm so excited for that. I'm so excited for that. Oh my gosh, but that reminds me, that freaking dragon just took off. She's gone. I have a feeling she'll come back at some point, but still, like, the first chance she got, she dipped. The way that Bryce announced in front of everybody at like Celestina's mating ceremony thing, being like, yeah, Hunt is my mate. Not Cormac, Hunt. And so she's like, oh, that's Prince Hunt. Oh, it was so good. It was everything I needed. However, I do feel like she should have told Cormac so that he wasn't sitting there like looking confused. But him being like, you broke our promise, I will not forget that. Enemy number one is Cormac now. Like, he has a score to settle, like a bone to pick. Like, he's upset, and rightfully so. But I don't know where that's gonna go. Hunt saying everything that ever happened to me was also that I could meet you was just so sweet. I really like them together. I will say though, I'm having a hard time like connecting with these characters the way that I felt connected to the ACOTAR characters and the Throne of Glass characters. I don't know if that's just me, but I'm not feeling as attached to these characters and this story as I did to the Throne of Glass characters and the ACOTAR characters. Rune going to meet Agent Day and then finding the harpy, which I was like, okay, I think it was the harpy or the hind that he described as the most beautiful person he'd ever seen at the beginning of the book. That happening, right? So I was like, oh my gosh, it's the harpy. And then he's like, Day, and she goes, what are you talking about? I don't know if she just said that or if she actually didn't know what he was talking about, but I need to know who Agent Daybright is. And if I don't find out in this book, I'm going to be a little upset, but I need to know. But we need to talk about Celestina and Hypaxia. I love it. Like, that was the twist I needed. It was so perfect. Like, when Hunt was talking about Celestina mating with Ephraim, him being like, does she even like males? And then Hypaxia being like, oh no, I can't. But it makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. Rune finally kissing Day. Oh my gosh, like, I didn't even know that was possible in like the dream realm thing that they're in, but I'm obsessed. The Prince of the Pit is saying that Bryce was bred to be receptive to their kind, and that's why he can like hunt down demons and stuff. I feel like that's going to be important. But he said, come to me when you find out the truth. And I think the truth has to do with the fact that the Asteri are like not what they say they are. So we'll see where that goes. Yes, the blanket is back, but I was really looking forward to Ethan getting to talk to Connor because I just felt like that was just a very important part of like Ethan guarding Hypaxia, that whole thing. But the Underking shows up and is like, meet me at the Temple of Erd or else. And then he's going to turn like the whole pack of devils into Second Light. I don't mean to sound like I'm not like understanding of what's happening, but like, what does it matter if they get turned into Second Light? They're already dead. Is it just me? What? Danica is Baxian's mate. Are you kidding me? I did not see that coming. That was so good. That was so good. I knew that the mystic that was a wolf was gonna be important, but the fact that she could be the heir instead of Sabine, that's gonna be so good. But she's an alpha, and I was hoping that Ethan would like get his own pack and he would be the alpha, but we'll see where that goes. Okay, so Therion is now a fighter for the Viper Queen, and I don't know how to feel about it, but I do remember them saying that like once you have her venom, like you can't really leave being in her service. So I'm kind of concerned about that. My theory is that, like, final guess is that the Hind is Agent Daybright, and when they're like in their minds about to get busy, Rune like sends her and says that like a rightness like a stone dropped into water, like settled. And I was like, you mean like when the Hind dropped the stone into the water before she allegedly killed Sophie, and how she dropped the stone into the water when she caught them after they had like destroyed all those suits? Is it just me? Theory time. This may sound absolutely cuckoo bonkers insane, but the Asteri need like first light to fuel themselves to keep living. Does that make Bryce like the 7th Asteri because like she needs power to like, am I just crazy? Like she needs somebody else to fuel her so she can use her powers. This whole scene with them in the dungeon was stressing me out. Mordock finding Rune, I was like, my heart was like, do. But then, you mean to tell me that Hell has really been trying to save them this whole time? That just feels so random. I am not a fan of the way that Cormac went out. I feel like it was just kind of anticlimactic. Like it was just not what I was hoping it would be. I knew somebody had to die. I thought it was gonna be Ethan. So glad it wasn't, but it just didn't make sense. And then Hunt trying to get the Harpy to focus on him instead of Rune and Bryce was just, oh my gosh, so sweet, and just what I've been needing from these characters, like, you know, like the sacrificing for each other that we get in the other series. I just was needing a little bit more of that connection between them, and this really gave it to me. When Rune said, "You brought so much joy into my life, Bryce," tears, waterworks. I was like, no, Rune is not about to die right now, because the bloodline ends with him thing. I don't know. Like, he can't die. I love that the Hind slipped the key to Bryce and she was able to unlock Hunt and Rune's shackles, like when she was hugging them. But Hunt saying like, "I will find you again, I promise." Stress. It was giving a little Akatar, but stress. So much stress in the last like 30 pages of this book. And then when Rune was like, "Long live the queen," I was just sitting there. I was sitting there like this. So shocked. So shocked. I was like, there's no way this is happening right now. And then the last we see of Hunt and Rune is Hunt getting like the halo tattooed back on him, which is just like gonna be its own set of problems in the 3rd book. I'm not ready for that, quite honestly. And I really wish I had read this before I got on Bookstagram, Book Talk. The ending of this was spoiled for me. I knew that last line, "Hello, Bryce Quinlan, my name is Rhysand," I knew that was gonna happen. So the whole time I'm like looking for connections between Akatar and Crescent City and Throne of Glass and Crescent City. I really wish that wasn't ruined for me, because I feel like that ending would have been like mind-blowing had I not already known that was gonna happen. Final thoughts on this book. 1, my head hurts. It's just so confusing. Everything that's happening, like you learn a new piece of information and you're like, where did that even come from? This book would be a 4-star rating for me. I just feel like it could have been significantly shorter, gotten the same point across, but I still kept reading only because I wanted to know what happened. I don't really feel invested in these characters the way that I feel invested in the characters of Throne of Glass. Like, those characters are top tier. But I will be reading the third book only because I own it. So I will be reading the third book to see how Bryce gets back home. But is it just like Bryce getting back home? I don't know. I just feel like the book could have been shorter. Because at points I was like, okay, why is this important? Where is this going? But solid 4 stars. If you have watched this far, thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye.